Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Walmoore Holsteins virtual chat and farm tour. I am Brittany with Discover Dairy, and we are so excited that you are joining us today as we get to meet Farmer Walt and Farmer Caitlin, and of course, our adorable adopted calves, May, Belinda, Daisy, and Snowflake. Today's tour wouldn't be possible without the generous support of the American Dairy Association Northeast and the Dairy Excellence Foundation. So thank you to both of those organizations for making today possible. First, this live tour is part of the Adopt a Cow program. And for anyone that is new to Discover Dairy and the Adopt a Cow program, it is a free online resource that covers Common Core standards in math, reading, and science, all while using dairy concepts to teach those lessons. The resources can be found at discoverdairy.com. We'd also love for you to join the Adopt a Cow Fund next year if you've really enjoyed this year. So registration will be open starting August 1st, and you can find that at discoverdairy.com/adopt. And if our folks monitoring the chat feature, if you don't mind dropping that in there for everyone to see, it'll be discoverdairy.com/adopt. Next, as everyone continues to join us live today, you will see the chat feature is enabled, and we can see many of you have found that live chat feature, which is really exciting. So just a little shout out to a few of you here. Let's see if I can scroll through. We are really excited to have you all. So Miss Perkins class is with us today. A first grade class from Gettysburg is really excited to be joining us. 3rd to 6th grade at Mercer Elementary in Cincinnati, Ohio. Welcome, everybody. Let's see. We've also got Arkansas with us this morning. Welcome. Good morning. We've got 4th graders from High Point Virtual Charter Academy. And let's find one more here. How about Jefferson Elementary from Michigan? We are so excited to have you all. And I see you guys adopted Belinda, so don't worry. You'll get to see all of them soon. And you can continue to use that chat feature to interact with us. We welcome any questions you have for Farmer Walt and Farmer Caitlin. And as we go through the tour today, they'll be happy to answer those questions. All right. With that, I am pleased to introduce you to Farmer Walt and Farmer Caitlin in West Grove, Pennsylvania at Walmoore Holsteins. Hey, Farmer Walt. Hey, Farmer Caitlin. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, Brittany. Great. I just want to welcome everyone to Walmoore Holstein. And we're here in West Grove, Pennsylvania. It's beautiful southern Chester County. We've got a gorgeous sunny day for a tour. And looking forward to sharing some time with you all and telling you about our farm. So I'm going to turn it over to Caitlin so you can see those cute little calves.
Awesome.
Hi guys, I'm Farmer Caitlyn. I'm over here at our heifer raiser to show you our calves. I'm actually here with Snowflake, who is very, very friendly. But before I get into the calves, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the facility they're in. They come here when they're about 3 months old, and they'll stay here until they're about 11 months, and then move to our other heifer farm. There are 5 pens here, and they're all set up into little groups. Right now, we have them separated. The 4 of them are here with a couple friends, just so you guys can see them a little easier. But normally they live with 50 other heifers. Yep. Yeah. So I'm going to start off with Snowflake here. It's a Snowflake. They're all about 6 months old. She's probably around 3.5 feet tall at her shoulders here, and probably pushing around 500 pounds. They all eat about 10 to 15 pounds of feed a day. And she is by far the friendliest. She is a little baby. She's my favorite. She's really nice. I very much enjoy working with her. And I will show you Daisy over here, who's probably the second friendliest. She's more nosy than friendly. 2036 over here. She's a little shorter than Snowflake. I say she's a couple inches shorter. Also pushing around 500 pounds. She's a little more shy than Snowflake, but she's one of the nicer ones. And I guess we'll show you May since she's making her way up here. May is very shy. She's very camera shy. She kind of just likes to do her own thing. Like, doesn't want to be bothered. She's around the same size as Snowflake, maybe an inch or two shorter. She's also pushing about 500 pounds. She does not like to be bothered with, but you'll see her throughout. She'll poke her head out every now and again. And then right in front here, we have Belinda, who is the smallest calf of the group. She's probably closer to 3 foot tall at her shoulders, probably closer to 475 weight-wise. And she's also not the friendliest, but every once in a while she'll want to come over and see what's going on. But yeah, and I can show you guys their feed. I mentioned they eat 10 to 15 pounds of feed a day. They have different feed from the last update you guys got. They now eat what we call a TMR, which is basically a cow salad. It stands for total mixed ration. So what we do is we take a whole bunch of different types of feed and we mix it together in like a little salad for them. So it gives them all the nutrients they need to grow up and be big cows. You got a lot of corn in here. You can see the corn kernels that were chopped up. The corn stalks are in here. They got some grain, and Snowflake is hungry apparently. Yeah, they really like it. It's supposed to help them grow.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and you can throw it back to Farmer Walt to show you the dairy.
Well, yeah, we'll hop over to Farmer Walt soon. We actually have a couple questions for you, Farmer Caitlin, if you don't mind answering any of them. So about how many heifers are where you are at right now?
I'd say around 250 to 300 heifers over here.
Awesome. And they're probably all around the adopted calves ages, right?
Yeah, they're the youngest ones we have here around 3 months. And the oldest ones we have are 11 months. They're kind of all in between. So the adopted calves are kind of smack in the middle of that the age range there.
Awesome. And we're getting a good look at their bodies and their heads, and everyone's noticing those yellow ear tags. Would you mind telling us the meaning of the ear tags and why you put them in the calves?
So the ear tags are kind of like a name tag for them. So we know what animal is what. We have a computer system that will actually track their weight, when they're older, how much milk they're milking. It kind of helps us keep them healthy, helps them keep them on track to be good, healthy cows. And we use that to kind of identify each cow individually, because 1,000 names are hard to remember and hard to remember to put in the computer spelling and stuff. So numbers are a little easier to remember them by. And that way we can quick see them in the, like if we're looking for a specific one, we can quick see their number and say, oh, that's who we're looking for, rather than have to remember all the names.
Right. Because of, as farmers, it's important to be able to manage each individual animal and know what's going on. So, yeah, absolutely. So those little ear tags are so they know which one's which, because I don't know if you guys are looking at these. Now, every spot is different on every calf, but they look a lot alike still. So it can be tricky to know which is which. So those tags are a really important indicator for Farmer Walt and Farmer Caitlin to take care of those heifers and calves the best they can. We had another question for them. Are they still drinking milk?
No, they were on milk up until about 2 months old, and then they were put on grain and hay, and they've recently been weaned off grain and hay to go to the TMR, which is like their big girl food.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. So they're moving on to their, I guess, teenager life maybe, and they're going out to eat for the real good food now. They really like that stuff. They're sniffing around and wanting to eat your bucket full.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. So we see you guys have a lot of great questions coming in. And one more question for you, Farmer Caitlin, before we hop over to Farmer Walt. How much larger will they get? So, you said they're close to 500 pounds now. How much bigger will they get to be?
They will probably triple in size by the time they're full grown. I would say between 1,200 to 15, even 1,700 pounds, depending. Some cows are bigger than others, but they're going to get much, much bigger than they are now.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's a big animal. And we had actually someone ask, why do they need to eat that much food? And I would say, well, think of how big they are. If you're a 70-pound third grader or something like that, you only need to eat a little bit of food, but these guys are 5, 6, 7 times your weight. So they have to eat that much more food than you do. Awesome. Thank you so much. One more thing. How much water do you think they drink? So I know an adult cow drinks about 40 gallons of water in a day. So about how much water do you think they're drinking right now?
If I had I'd probably say around 5 gallons.
5 gallons?
They're not making milk, so they don't need, they need water, but they don't need the water like the big cows do. They're not as big as the cows and they're not making milk and stuff.
Right.
So
that's awesome. Well, thank you, Farmer Caitlin. For everyone that is enjoying getting to see these adopted calves, we will come back to them at the end when we go through our Q&A. We see a lot of these great questions coming in, and I'm sure some of these Farmer Walt will actually get to answer. But for now, we're going to pass it over to Farmer Walt. So we're going to see if we can get them to join us back with their video and things, and head on over to the farm. So thank you, Farmer Caitlin, and hello, Farmer Walt.
Hey, welcome back. Yeah, I'm here at back at our main farm where we milk the cows and where they're all grown up. You saw Farmer Caitlin down there with some of the younger heifers, and they come here when they get to be about 21 months of age, and then they start having their first calf at 23 or 24 months, and then they start milking. But back up a little bit. I just want to share that our farm's been in our family for 4 generations. Actually, the 5th generation's working on the farm as well now for 112 years. So we're pretty proud of that. And we're milking about 1,025 cows, and we have about 960 young ones also. So it's a lot to keep track of in a day. We farm about 1,800 acres of corn, alfalfa, triticale, wheat, and some soybeans. And that's all raised to feed our cows, and because they eat. Talked a little bit about what they're eating, but our mature cows will eat over 100 pounds of feed a day, so it takes a lot of hungry mouths. So we'll touch more on that later. But we wanted to show you. We actually have an opportunity. We have the vets here working today, which are basically like the cow doctors, and they're looking at a couple cows that are not feeling the greatest today. So we're going to walk in what we call our milking center here, and we're going to show you them looking at these cow that doesn't feel so great, and then we're going to go into the milking parlor and show you where they're being milked. So come on in with us. So we built this milking center in 2009, and the milking center means it's the area where the cows are being milked, where we have the store the milk until we put it on a truck to go to the dairy plant. And at the dairy plant, they make the products you probably all like cheese and yogurt and ice cream. So and we'll show you a little more of that later. So we're just coming down our hall here, and we'll take a peek here and see if they've got a cow. And they do not have a cow for us right now, but they're going to be getting one. Why don't we wait a minute? So this is the area where they're working in, and you can see some of the cows waiting to be milked out here in what we call the holding area. And so we have 8 milking pens at our farm, and this is one of them. And they come in here, and we bring the whole pen in, and they wait to be milked. We milk 36 at a time, 18 on each side. There are 2 employees that do this to milk and bring the cows up and take them back to their barn. So, and we'll just step aside a minute and let the vet there get a cow in for us. Why don't we go see the milk and we'll come back? So
sounds like a plan. Yeah, we'll head on over. And so it's important. So it sounds like, I know you were talking a little bit about having the vet out. About how often does a vet come out, or when do you need a vet, and when do you try to do things on your own as a farmer?
We do as much as we can on our own. We can do a lot of things routinely. Our cows get vaccinations much like humans do, so we take care of those things. We take care of their kind of routine maintenance. They get their hooves trimmed twice a year, so we help with that, and we have a person that comes in and does that. But to answer your question, the vets come once or twice a week. They come to actually preg check with an ultrasound machine to see when our cows are pregnant. And also, then they also come if we have a cow that's not feeling great that we're not sure what to do with. So they come out and give her a physical and help us treat her for whatever we need to do to make her feel better. So we're in the milking parlor right now. So the cows here on the left are being milked, and you can see actually these machines are just starting to come off. So this is what we call a milker claw or milking machine, and these are called inflations, and there's 4 of them, and that's because a cow has 4 teats. So this is her udder, and this is her teats. So this machine has a rubber piece in it, and this sort of acts like a calf's mouth, and it sucks. It goes. So I can maybe even turn it on, and you can hear it a little bit. Hear the air there. So that shows you there's a little bit of a vacuum. And then there's also another noise which you may or may not be able to hear, but it's kind of a noise. That's called a pulsator, and that makes the actual sucking phenomenon that helps bring the milk out of the cows. So we walk down here, Zach, you can show them the milk coming in here from this cow. You can see it streaming out into this bowl, as we call it. And then it comes down this green tube and on down underneath to this thing, which is called a milk meter. So we actually know how much milk each cow's giving at each milking. So this top number is this cow's number. Remember, you saw the numbers down at from Farmer Caitlyn. So this cow's number is 99.23. And we measure how much milk they give by pounds. So she's given 54.5 pounds this morning, which if you divide that by 8 is about 6.5 gallons she's given this morning. So she's given quite a bit of milk, which is great. And then the machine knows when she's done being milked, and it will shut that vacuum off, and then it'll take it off, which it's doing right now. Our employees will come through and they'll put what we call a teat dip on at the end before they let them back out to the barn. And that teat dip helps create a barrier around their teat to help keep their teats healthy and help them from getting what we call mastitis, which is an infection in the udder. If they get mastitis, we can't sell that milk, so then they have to be separated out. So the cows are coming in here on the right hand side one by one, and Andres back here is putting on the next set of milkers, so we can take a look at that. You can see the cloth towels. He's wiping one off right now. So we use he cleans off the teat dip, which we put on first, which comes from this foaming machine, and you can see him attaching them. And then the next one's ready. You can see the teat dip here, which came out of this machine, which is a foamer. You see we put that on the udder and on the teats, and what that does is sanitize kills any germs that are on the teat ends and sanitizes that so it's nice and clean to take the milk out. So then he wipes that back off with the towel, as you can see him doing right now, and then he'll put the machine on. So now he's getting ready. He pushes the button that starts it, and you can see him attaching it right to him. And then in a couple seconds there, you'll see the milk starting to flow down. And the average time this machine is on a cow is about 5.5 minutes. And as you saw over there, the first cow, she gave about 6.5 gallons there in about 5.5, 6 minutes. So some of our cows are right now, average production is about 12 gallons a day. And we have some cows that will produce as much as 20 gallons a day. And most of, I mentioned we have 8 milking groups earlier. 7 of them are milked 3 times a day, and then the 8th group is milked twice a day. So they're making that 12 gallons a day in 3 milkings. And there's some of the cows, they're done being milked, and they're hanging out. We call this, they like to hang out at the water cooler or the coffee pot. So they're very social. They were just chewing their cud, looking at our cameraman, Zach. And then they'll go on back to their house, their room, their barn when they're ready. So, all right, let's go see if the vets are. Yep, go ahead.
Oh yeah, go ahead. While you're making your way to the vet, we have a couple of parlor and milking questions that have been coming in. So how many cows do you milk a day? I know we talked about how many heifers and stuff we have, but how many cows do you milk a day?
So right now we're milking about 930 a day. 930 and 160 of them get milked twice a day, and the rest get milked 3 times a day.
Gotcha. And this is actually a good question. How often do the claws get cleaned to milk the cows?
The claws, the milking units?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they get washed. Everything gets washed twice a day. That's a good question. Yep.
Awesome.
And it goes through a 3-wash cycle and rinses it, and then a hot wash, and then a cold rinse.
Very
good questions.
Awesome. And
okay,
one more if you don't mind. They asked if you have to train them to be milked. Like, is that something that they need to learn to come in and do, or do they just do it automatically?
Good question. When the first time they're being milked, we actually, before they're had their calf and start milking, we walk them through the milking parlor a couple times a week, just to get them used to the area so that they're not nervous and about the process. And then we also put them in with older cows, and they learn from the older cows, just like you students learn from your teachers. It's the same idea, and they pick it up pretty quickly. So
Very
good
cool.
question.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, we can head to the vet.
All right, we're right here. I think they got a cow ready now. So, oh, cool. Yep, they are. So this cow, number 18, she's in what we call a head chute. So they can hold her, and you can see the vet students here are listening to them with stethoscopes and checking their sides, listen to their breathing, their heart, their stomachs. Cows have 4 stomachs, so mainly they're listening to their rumen, which is their biggest stomach. And the idea of that is to see how if they're digesting well and that kind of thing. So we work with the New Bolton Center, which is part of the University of Pennsylvania's veterinary school. So we have a couple veterinarians that come regularly, and then we also have students that are being in their schooling and training to learn how to work on cows and horses and other animals as well. But today they're out here, so they normally come here on Tuesdays and Fridays, and so this is Friday morning. So we had a couple cows for them to look at, and this is one of them. So,
awesome.
And we'll, if we don't have any questions, we'll take another walk. So
Sounds
thank
good.
you. So
Absolutely. It looks like we have some, as we're walking to the next spot, we actually had some questions still from the parlor, but I wanted to make sure we could see the vet and see how you guys take care of your cows. Do you ever milk cows by hand?
Yeah. Actually, I didn't show you that part in the process, but the part of the procedure is that they heat 2 to 3 times and check the milk for any abnormalities. That way, if we would see that the cow's milk doesn't look right, we can not put it in the tank, and we can keep her and see why. So that we do. Every cow gets stripped. That also tells the cow it's time to let her milk down and it's time to start milking. But rarely do we milk a cow completely by hand.
It'll be a lot of work, getting how many,
It would take
60, 70, 80 pounds of milk. Your hands would get tired.
Yes, you would have very big arms, very strong. Yeah. So if everybody knows who Popeye is, you would have Popeye arms out there. So good question. Yeah.
Awesome. Go ahead. You can go on to the next place then.
Since we're right here. So this is the milk house. And the milk comes from the milking parlor where we were before. And it comes up through a tunnel and in through this. There's a filter in this piece right here. And then it carries through the tube on into what we call these milk tanks or bulk tanks. So this one on the left is 6,000 gallons. And the one on the right is 7,000 gallons. Now, cows are a little warmer than we are. Their actual temperature is about 101 degrees, where ours is 98. So this milk's very warm, and we have to get it really cool very quickly so that it keeps for a long time and doesn't spoil. So the milk's pumped through this thing, which is called a plate cooler. And what happens here is there's all these little plates you can see. So milk goes up one side of the plate and cold water from the well goes up the other side, and it goes up and down and up and down. And what happens is the heat transfers from the milk to the water. And then that milk goes from 100 degrees through that plate cooler and comes out the other side at about 60 degrees. And then it goes in the bottom of this, runs right down through here, and it goes right in the bottom of the tank. On the bottom of this tank are cooling plates. And so this thing works a lot like your refrigerator does in your house. So the warm milk goes in the bottom, and then there's 2 big stirrers inside here. And maybe let me jump up and open it for cameraman Zach here, and maybe he can show you the milk coming in. And we keep the milk stirred up, and as the warm milk gets mixed with the cold milk, so we can get it cold real quick. But we have to get the milk below 40 degrees here on the farm. So as we got it down to 60 coming through the plate cooler, but then to get it the rest of the way, we have compressors on here that cool it down, which is much like what you would have on your refrigerator, to just a lot bigger to cool it the rest of the way. So the milk is constantly being stirred by a agitator in there, and so to help it cool. And the other thing that happens, the other reason we do that is milk, when you get it in a store, is what we call homogenized, which means they've made it so that the cream in it will stay in the milk. Our milk hasn't been homogenized here yet. So if we do not stir it, the cream rises to the top. So we want to keep it mixed up. So it'll mix itself about 3 times an hour just to keep it mixed as we're going. So it's really important for us to get that milk cold as quickly as we can. So when it gets to the dairy plant, it's nice and cold on the trucks, and then they can bottle it and do what they want to do with it. So additionally, we take the heat from the compressors. We have extra heat from that, and in the wintertime we help heats our building, and it also every day helps heat our hot water, because we have to wash these tanks every other day, and then also the milking system twice a day. So it takes quite a bit of hot water. So we're able to take the extra heat from cooling the milk and raise up that well water from about 60 degrees to 130 or 140 just with using that excess heat. So that's a really good renewable resource there. So, and then we also haul our own milk. So we walk outside here, and there's one milk trailer, and we can pump right from once the milk's cold, we can pump it right out to the back here, and put a hose out through here and hook it on, and then it goes on this trailer. So this trailer here holds 7,500 gallons, and we're part of Land O'Lakes Cooperative, which is owned by about 2,000 farmers across the United States. And we sell our milk here in the Northeast to Wawa, which probably some of you know that are local. We also sell it to Hershey Foods. So if any of you have had Hershey chocolate, there's a good chance that some of our milk's been part of that. And then also Land O'Lakes. So Land O'Lakes makes butter and powder and many other things. And so that's where our milk mainly goes, and is made into anything from just bottled milk, flavored milk, yogurt, cottage cheese, sour cream, ice cream, cheese, all those great things. So at this point, we're going to walk around and show you another part of the farm.
Awesome. That is a lot of great information. Thank you so much. We have really been enjoying all of what you've been sharing. We have lots of questions coming in, but I have to ask, Farmer Walt, do you have your own YouTube channel? Somebody asked, and they're apparently really enjoying you. So they're wondering if you had your own YouTube channel.
No, but maybe I should get one. I don't.
So nope. You heard it from Farmer Walt. If you want to hear him, you gotta watch this video.
So we're walking outside the building here. Our cows, we're going to show you where they live. But before that, we're going to show you our sand recycling center. So our cows lay on beds we call free stalls. The free stalls means within their pen, they're able to get up and down and move where they want, go get a drink, eat, socialize with their friends, whatever. But here on their bedding, we put sand down for them to lay on, and which is really comfortable for them. And but they keep kicking some out all the time, every time they get up and down. So we have to put more sand in twice a week. Well, that sand gets mixed in where they stand, and so it gets dirty. And so 3 times a day, we take liquid recycled water and flush it down through this, what we call sand lane. So it comes through pipes underground, and by gravity, it comes down to this sand lane, which cameraman Zach's showing you. And we have, what happens is this acts a lot like a river. So when it's moving very fast, the sand stays in suspension. When it slows down on this sand lane, it's heavier than the manure water, recycled water. So it settles out. And he's showing you a pile of the sand that we pulled out of here yesterday. So once a day, we get in this sand lane with a payloader and scoop that sand up and dump it on a pile like we just showed you. Then today they'll pick up that pile he just showed you, and they'll dump it in this hopper here. And this hopper has an auger underneath it. And what happens is it augers it up to this other end, and we have what we call a sand shaker. So the sand, the wet, dirty sand, gets dropped into this sand shaker, and then it really just has screens in it, shakes very fast. And what happens is the dirty water runs out through this black tube here on the other side, and then the cleaner sand comes out, cleaner and drier sand comes out this side. Still not good enough to go back for the cows bedding yet, but then we move it. We just keep moving it with our loader. There's the one payloader we use, and we make piles with it. And as we make the piles and move it, it keeps, you can see some of the water running out of it. So it just leaches out of the sand piles. So what we need to do is dry it out. We want to get it to 90% dry matter or 10% moisture or drier before we put it back in the cow beds. So that keeps them nice and clean and dry. So that's how we keep moving that. And then we'll show you one other little place where we make smaller piles. We call them ricks, and we turn them twice a day to help dry that process out. So one other thing that happens here is that manure water comes down, and after the sand drops out, it has some long pieces of fiber in it that the cows have eaten. Well, it goes into that building up there, and there's a machine in there that separates the fibers part or the long pieces out. And then we get what we call solid manure and liquid manure. And we use that for fertilizer on our crops. So we twice a year, typically, we spread this manure, whether it's the liquid or the solids, and we put it on our crops to add nutrients to the soil to grow the next year's crop. So we'll take a quick walk here, and we'll show you that over here to the right is the manure solids. As you can see, they're kind of stacked up there on a pad. And there's a backhoe working right now because we're actually going to expand that pad. We're starting that process today. Down here also is the liquid manure, and that, after it goes through that machine, goes by pipe underground and fills up one of these lagoons. So we have 3 lagoons. At our farm, they hold over 7 million gallons. And then we have tankers that we can haul that to our fields, and we also have a piping system where we can pump it to our fields and put it on our fields for the fertilizer. So coming on down here, you can still see piles of sand, and then we'll show you these small piles, which we call ricks, and this is the last process. They get turned and dried out. And then twice a week, we pick these up and haul them up to our barn and put them back in where the cows sleep and lay down. So these are the small ricks, and twice a day we'll come through here with a machine, and we just roll this over from one side to the other, and it lets it dry out. So we get very nice dry sand for them to sleep on and lay down. So we're going to walk on up to the cow barn, to one of the cow barns, and show you some of the cows and where they live now and stay when they're not being milked.
Wonderful. Farmer Walt, man, you must be just given a lot of great information, because I think I have 2 pages full of amazing questions. It is incredible. So if you don't mind, if we can just take a couple minutes or a couple seconds here to just answer a couple of them while we walk up and hang
Absolutely.
out at the barn.
Absolutely.
So, and they're very intrigued by the whole milking process. So it's kind of going back to some of those. Now, just to reiterate and repeat what you were saying, how everything is cleaned twice a day. So everything is cleaned every time they milk. So including the pipes that the milk goes through. I was just answering some of those questions for everyone. Those pipes are cleaned every time, just the same as those claws are cleaned, the milking units. And they asked, if you don't mind refreshing us, someone asked, how does the milk come out of the tank then? And you had talked about the milk truck a little bit, and how does that actually happen?
So yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, when after the tank is full of milk and cold, then we have a pipe, a flexible hose we put on the bottom right where the milk went in, comes right back out the same spot. We have a little porthole in our wall of our building, goes out through there and into the back of the trailer. We kind of pointed out the back of the trailer, and we have a pump specifically for that pumps it from the tank into the truck. So so that's how that happens. Yep.
No, that helps. And there was another great question. So we saw the vet there with some cows that might not be feeling well. Can you explain what you do as a farmer to make sure that there isn't any tainted milk getting into the milk tank? What do you do if a cow is sick and they're getting any antibiotics? How do you make sure that stays clean and safe?
Oh, that's a great question. So any cow that that's sick enough and needs to have an antibiotic, she gets special red leg bands put on her that let us know that she has some antibiotics in her, and she gets put into a specific pen we have here, which we call our hospital pen, and she's in that, and they get milked together as a group, and then all that milk is discarded. So we know that that group is bad, that their milk is not sellable. So then we either feed it to the baby calves that we have on the farm, or we just put it down the drain. So, and then when we actually have an on-farm sampling machine that when we can check to make sure that that milk's good and antibiotic free before we put them back into where they would be putting their milk in the tank.
Right. So just to reiterate what you were saying, whether you see it on a gallon of milk or anything of cheese in it, whether it says antibiotic free or not, you can be 100% certain that all of your milk is antibiotic free, even if it doesn't say it. It is always going to be antibiotic free. Is that correct, Farmer Walt?
Absolutely. Not only do we check each individual cow before their milk's put back into the tank, we actually check every tank load before it's pumped onto the trailer. And then when the trailer gets to the plant, it's rechecked again before it's put into what they call their storage silos. And so it is literally triple checked. So it's absolutely 100%.
Wonderful. Thank you for going over that and just reassuring everybody. So we like to know that we're drinking safe, healthy milk. And that's not just Farmer Walt, that's all farmers across the country. So you can be rest assured all of your milk is always 100% healthy and safe to consume. So thank you, Farmer Walt. And we'll let you continue on with your tour.
Absolutely. Thank you. Great questions, and great to have that clarity. So these are some of our girls or our friends. So you can see lots of different numbers here, and this this is what they're eating. This is what little bit different than what Farmer Caitlin showed you, but this is what we call, she did mention this, a TMR, or total mixed ration. So think about this as like a tossed salad. You put about 10 different ingredients in, and at some point you take a couple spoons or tongs and you mix it all together. Well, we do this, but we just do it with machines. So there's everything in here from dry hay, corn sides, which is the entire plant of corn chopped into very small pieces, and the kernels of it is also ground up into here. There's alfalfa haylage, which is an alfalfa, which is a plant that we put this in our bunker silos, and we make it put it in wet as well as the corn silage. And we can store that year round. And then there's also other grains and things in this feed as well. So cows are really, I mentioned the rumen back when we were looking that one cow the vets were working on. So their rumens are really good at digesting lots of things that us humans cannot. So we feed different byproducts from the humans, that stuff that we use to eat. For example, canola meal, which is they take the whole canola bean and they crush the oil out of it, and then there's a meal that's left, which is a high protein meal, which we've put in here, and the cows can use that protein. Another thing would be a wheat midds, which is a fibrous source of wheat. So we take the wheat berry, we take the shell off of it, which is called the mid. The cows eat that, and then we crush the rest of it for flour for us to make bread and different things with. So they're really good at using byproducts, and we're able to mix all that in, and they're able to consume it and turn that into really great milk. So
yeah, Farmer Walt, if you don't mind me jumping in, you had mentioned the rumen, and we did have a question, why do cows have 4 stomachs? But can you clarify the question, and then explain, what is the rumen? And it's actually more like compartments.
Yes. So yeah, there's really 4 compartments, and the rumen is the largest one. And when they're mature, when they're baby calves, the rumen doesn't get used much. But as they age, and Farmer Caitlin talked about, they go from milk on to grain and hay. And as they go on to grain and hay, that starts to develop the rumen. And there's lots of rumen microbes, we call it, little bugs in there that is really what does the digestion for them and chew and digest all these different food ingredients we put in there. That rumen's really, really big on the cow, but that's where all this feed goes in, and they need fiber too. We showed you can see in here some of the long pieces of hay and stuff. So their cows are called ruminants because of that, along with some other animals like sheep and goats. And what they do is they ruminate, as we call it, or regurgitate. So they'll eat a bunch and then they'll go lay down and they'll chew up their cud, as we call it. And so they kind of re-chew all that food again. And so they eat quick and then they go down and lay down and re-chew that. So that's how they digest their food, which is much different than how humans do it. But good question. So moving on here. So these cows are here eating, and then I think Cameron and Zach was showing you their beds a little bit. And so these are the free stalls, as we talked about. And so the cows can lay down. There's one laying down or a couple laying down. And this is the sand we showed you outside. So this is what it looks like back in the bed. And you can see how dry it is. So we really want it to be nice and clean and dry. And we put fresh sand in, extra sand in every Monday and Thursday here. But as you can see, as the cows get in and out, they can easily kick some out into the alley here. And then this is what gets cleaned out 3 times a day and goes through that recycling process we showed you. So also there's water. The cows drink a lot of water. So we have these long water troughs, and they'll drink 30 to 40 gallons of water per cow per day on the ones that are milking. So they get dumped 3 times a day, and then we scrub them a couple times a week too. So we get some nice clean water for them. Then they're able to just walk around here and eat and lay down and drink as they want until it's time to be milked again. We also, you can see there's some big fans in here, and right here are sprinklers. So when it gets hot, cows start to get really heat stressed, as we call it, at about 70 degrees. So they get heat stressed before we do. So this barn, when it gets to be about 68 degrees, these fans turn on and start to cool the cows. And then when it gets to about 74 degrees, the sprinklers come on, and they'll come on intermittently. They'll soak the cow for about 60 seconds, and then it shuts off. And then the fans, through evaporation, dries that water off of them, and that helps keep them cool. If they get really heat stressed, what happens is they don't feel that great, so they don't eat as much. And then when they don't eat as much, they don't milk as much. So the whole idea is to help keep them cool and comfortable, so they keep milking well and stay comfortable throughout the summer.
Wonderful. Man, they are living the life. It kind of seems like they're on the beach every day.
I'm thinking if you like the beach, you should be a cow. So yep.
That is awesome.
Absolutely. Yep,
oh my goodness.
All right. If there's no questions right here, we're gonna walk around to another area.
Well, you can feel free to start walking there. We have lots and lots of questions that we can certainly try and get to. So actually talking about their beds and everything, how much do cows actually rest, and how much rest do they need?
Oh, good question. Yeah, they'll lay down. They sleep very short. They're kind of cat nappers, so they'll only sleep for half hour, an hour at a time, but they like to lay down anywhere from 12 to 15 hours a day. So what they do is they'll eat really fast, and then they go and they like to lay there and chew their cud. And that's when they're digesting and relaxing. So it's kind of like sitting on the couch with your hand in a bowl of popcorn. So that's what they like to do, watching TV. And then they'll get up and get a drink, and then they'll go get some more to eat, and they'll sit down and lay down and chew their cud a while. So
perfect.
We're trying to find a couple baby calves. We have a couple here. We had Farmer Caitlyn talked about, but we have a guy that raises a bunch of our calves for us, and he came in yesterday and picked up a bunch. So right inside there's one of our baby calves, 2357. So she's just a couple days old. And so they live in these little calf hutches for the first week of their life. So after they're born, and we put them in here, we hand bottle feed them twice a day. And so they got their morning, they had their breakfast, and then they'll get dinner after a while. And there's 2356. So she's just hanging out on her straw, laying down, enjoying her nap time. So, and then once they're about a week old, they go to 1 or 2 places from our farm to Farmer Jared's, where he has groups of 20 of our calves. So they'll put 20 of these in together, and we call that's kind of like their preschool or kindergarten. They get to know each other in there, and they hang out, eat and drink and sleep, and then they just, as they get older, they keep moving together. So they kind of have classmates, sort of like each year of school, they go to another area, and as they get older and their food changes as they grow, and that kind of thing. So.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. That couple day old calf, it never gets old. They're always so cute at that age. So can you remember Belinda and May and Snowflake and Daisy being that little? Oh my goodness. So now they're 6 months old, and they're 500 pounds, and they grow really, really fast. So it's just crazy to see them grow so much. We had a question. Go ahead.
Go ahead. These baby calves can stand up within an hour of birth. So they're up and ready to go and ready to drink, and They're pretty neat. So go
Wow.
ahead.
We did have a question when we were checking out the mature cows there. They noticed something around their neck. Can you talk about what was hanging on their neck?
Good question. Yeah, that's besides their ear tag they get at birth. Each one of them, when they become a cow, gets that neck chain and a collar, and that little red thing on the bottom is a computer transponder, and and each cow has one. And remember when we were in the milking parlor, I showed you the cow's number and their milk weight. Well, when they walk into the milking parlor, they know that that computer reads each cow coming in, and each chip is individual to each cow. So we know which cow it is, and it keeps track of her milk production. And that way it goes into a computer program, which Farmer Caitlyn talked about, and we call that Dairy Comp. And that helps us know how much each cow's milking and what she's doing and those kind of things. And also when we want to have her, like if we wanted to have that cow looked at by the vet today, or we wanted to look at that cow, we could put her number in, and there's an automatic gate that sorts them out as they come out of the milking parlor, so we can have them easily to work on them and look at them. So this is our mixer wagon. I'm going to jump into this. This is our group. All the cows in here are within a month of having their baby, and so we call this our transition barn. And they're transitioning from being a non-milking cow to a milking cow or a dry cow. And this is the mixer wagon. He's just finishing running the feed off. And this thing, I showed you all the different ingredients, and this diet looks a lot different than the other one. They have a lot different diet demands than the other cows. So it's a lot more fibers, a lot more hay. And this is to help keep these cows, that rumen that we talked about, really full. And so they get fed once a day, and all these ingredients go in this mixer wagon, and that's what makes up the TMR. So there's a scale on there, and we have a person that specializes in cattle nutrition, and he makes diets for each one of our groups. And then our employee puts those diets into a scale program on there, and he knows how many pounds of each ingredient get put in that every day. And that wagon mixes everything up. It's like a big, it's got corkscrews in there, and it just mixes everything all together. So basically the idea is when each cow eats, they have each bite's the same. So so now he's just finishing up, and we thought we'd show you that here while he was right here.
Perfect. Yeah. And if we can make sure, can we actually get the camera to stay horizontal? We're actually able to see it bigger, if that's okay. And Farmer Walt, and we don't want to get run over, but if we're able to see you with that in the same shot, we can see just how big it is.
Okay, good deal. So gives you an idea how big we are. So.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. So.
Incredible.
So that mixer wagon will as we call it, it'll hold up 20,000 pounds of feed, and that tractor's over 200 horsepower. So it's a pretty good sized tractor and a big wagon to feed all these cows. So, and here you go, you get an idea, and there you can tell they just got fed. They're happy. They're coming up and eating right now. And so everybody's fed once a day, and some of the higher producing groups are fed twice a day on our farm. So this barn is similar to the other one, has fans and sprinklers and free stalls, much like we showed you before, but also on the far side is the calving pens. And so an employee walks through this barn about once an hour, and if they see a cow start to have in labor, they put her into that calving pen where she can be monitored one-on-one and watched and helped if she needs it. But most cows, about 95% of them, have their calf on their own. And then after they're born, our employees help dry that calf off and feed it, make sure it gets its first mother's milk, which is called colostrum. And that's very important for them to get. We give them a gallon of that within an hour of birth, and it's full of antibodies and protein and fat, and it really helps that calf jumpstart and gets them off to a great healthy start.
Yeah, that actually helped answer some questions that we had seen coming through. Someone asked if you use a bottle to feed a baby, just like you feed a bottle for humans. And so the answer would be yes, you guys use bottles. And then someone else had asked, how long do they drink milk from their moms before you milk the cows? So it actually sounds like, if I'm correct, that you actually milk them right away, but you still make sure you use that first round of milk to give to that baby, so they're getting that good round of colostrum. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's very, very important. Every calf, we want to get that first round of colostrum into them. And some moms will make more colostrum than one calf needs. So we'll share that to other calves if we need to.
Perfect.
So that's great too.
Let's see. We actually, if you're okay, we do have a couple other questions.
Sure.
Now we see them in this beautiful, big, beautiful barn, and they clearly are very comfortable here. But do they ever go out to a field at all? Or, I mean, clearly they love it in their barn, but I didn't know if dry cows or anything like that went out to a field on your farm.
So on our farm, the cows do not. Some of the heifers, the younger ones, get to go out where Farmer Caitlyn is. There's heifers there that get to go out on the pasture, and then we also have at a couple other farms, which we won't be able to visit today, but they do go out. But the cows we keep here in their barns, they just go from different pens to pens depending on where they're at in their lactation. But that's a great question. But we do everything, as you can see. They're very, very comfortable. And most wintry cold days, they'd rather be in the barn, and the real hot summer days, they'd rather be in the barn too. Than just like we would, like in the shade and in the cool. So
right, absolutely. And Farmer Walt, if you don't mind, I know we just did a tour yesterday at a different farm, and they actually have their cows outside most of the time, but they're also in Alabama, so they have beautiful weather almost year round, so they can do that. Whereas when we're here in Pennsylvania, or anyone even in Ohio or Michigan joining us, you know how cold it gets. We can't keep our cows outside like that. So that's why we have the barns, for them to stay nice and warm. So it's just another reason why farming is a little bit different no matter where you are in the country.
absolutely, good point. And that's in California. There's a lot of cows that just have shades, but they're outside year round because they don't have the cold like we do. So, and our cows, these barns, I didn't point it out, but they're opened up right now because it's relatively warm. But we do have curtains that we can put up and down on the barns, so that helps keep the wind out, keep some of the heat in. So cows are pretty happy if it's 20 degrees or warmer, and the wind's off of them. So
absolutely great.
So behind us, Farmer Zach's been panning, showing you. But so there's a group of cows walking into the milking center to be milked, and then there's a group on the other side leaving. So we kind of have a two-way highway here. So there's 2-lane roads, so one going in and one coming out.
Awesome.
So we're going to walk over to our feeding area. So I don't know if you have more questions or if you want to talk to Farmer Caitlyn or.
Yeah, we've got lots of questions we can talk about here while we walk our way over. A question for specifically you, Farmer Walt, and it's actually a two-part question. One, do you have a favorite animal? And two, do you why did you even start farming? You know, what was your kind of mission or purpose of dairy farming?
Do I have a favorite animal? We have some red and white Holsteins. There's probably 30 of them or so in the herd, and typically I like them because they're just a little different, and they get a little extra TLC some days because of that. So they're probably my favorites. I can't say I have exactly one favorite. And why did I start farming? Good question. I grew up with it. I'm fourth generation. The parents, I was involved with it early on as a kid, went out with my dad to the barn. And honestly, I told my parents when I was 6 years old, I was going to go to college and learn agriculture and come home and farm. That's exactly what I did. So it's in my blood, I guess. So I just love it. And I still love it. So
that is awesome. So you say you love it, but I do have to ask, and because other people are asking, what's it like to be a farmer? And is it kind of a 9-to-5 job, or what are your hours like as a farmer?
Sure. I sometimes in the summer say I'm working 5 to 9. They're like, oh, that's 4 hours. I said, well, not quite. I'm 5 in the morning till 9 at night. So, yeah, it's more of a lifestyle than a job. But yeah, our typical day is 10 to 11 hours a day. And when we get to cropping and doing that, it can certainly get longer than that because when it's crops time to get it in, we work extra hours to make sure we get that in so we get really good feed in for them. So it is a lot of hours. It's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding. It's very neat to see the cycle of life, whether that's from the plant side. We plant in the spring, and like we're going to start planting corn today, and we'll start harvesting that in August. It's fun to watch that grow and see how good of a crop you can have this year. And it's fun to see these newborn calves born every day and watch them grow up and become a milking cow. And so it's just, to me, it's very rewarding to see all that cycle of life in so many aspects. And it's fun to put all the pieces together to make it all work. And we have a great staff here that is part of that, and they all work together and for the common goal. So it's a lot of fun, and it's awesome to know that we're feeding so many people. We in 2020 we made all over 3.4 million gallons of milk. So that's a lot of milk, fed a lot of people. And that's very, very good to know too, that for me, that we're helping so many people have food for their tables, and also they're able to employ a lot of people and help, have them raise their families in that as well. So.
Right. You kind of touched on that there. And I know we passed a bunch of vehicles. How many people do you have employed on the farm, and how many families? And it's just really neat to see how much you impact.
Cool. So we have 15 full-time employees just for the dairy farm, and that includes our guys that are more on the crop and maintenance crew. And then we also have 6 employees on our milk hauling operation as well, which we're in partnership with another dairy farm up the road. And so that's great to have them as part of our staff too.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. It looks like we're at the next spot, so we'll go ahead and let you talk about the feed, I believe, and then we can continue with more questions and things.
Sure. Well, I'm glad we got to see that mixer wagon a couple minutes ago, the big blue wagon. So before he was unloading, one of the spots he stopped was right here in front of these grain bins, and I'm just going to walk a little bit away to show you how big they are. And they're so we have several of them, and they're all of them have different ingredients in, and they're filled from the top with a special tractor trailer, and then these are augers here, and we augers the feed up and comes down, and that wagon, if you can imagine, sits underneath here, and the feed drops down into the top of it, and our Jose, our feeder, he looks at the scale, and when certain ingredient gets to the right weight, he stops it, and then he turns the next one on. So there's a whole bank of switches right here, and turns each bin on. So as I talked about, we have wheat mids, and we have canola meal, and we have ground corn, and we have some premixes that have all this extra vitamins and minerals and proteins that they need. And then one other ingredient we have is molasses in a different tank sitting back behind there, and that's you probably have heard of molasses, but that's another byproduct of the sugar industry. So they refine the sugar down for us to have brown sugar, white sugar, those kind of things. Well, cane molasses is a byproduct like that, and it's really sweet, smells good, and cows like that. So we put that in and mix some of that in too. So it makes that different TMR and all that yummy feed for the cows. So these bins will hold about more than a tractor trailer load of feed each. And besides all the feed that we grow, we buy about 3 tractor trailer loads of feed a week, and they come in from a different company, and they fill these bins up as we need it. So also, you can see we talked about the sand. So this barn here is where the sand that's ready to go back into the barn is stored. So we bring it off the sand stacking area we showed you earlier, and then it gets dumped in here and kept here so it stays dry and out of the weather until we're ready to put it in the barns in their free stalls.
Oh, awesome. That is a lot of food to store for all of your ladies. It's impressive how just the mass amount of food. But the really neat part, like you've already talked about, is a lot of it is leftovers from what humans can't eat or won't eat. So it's a great way of recycling and byproducts.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to add is that I mentioned we put our wet feed, our corn silage and our alfalfa haylage in bunker silos or big kind of pits in the ground, and we put that in wet. And then we have big tractors that push it and pack all the air out of it, and then we put a plastic over it and seal it down with recycled tire rings. And the reason we do that is to get that air out, so then that feed goes through fermentation, much like a beer or wine would. But so then it preserves that feed, so we can keep it year round. So we have feed for the cows year round, and that's all part of this total mixed ration that we showed you earlier. So we put in corn silage, we put in about 15,000 tons of that last year, and alfalfa haylage about 8,000 tons, just to give you an idea how much feed it takes to feed this many cows and heifers in a year's time.
Wonderful. That's pretty awesome. So it looks like we, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
I was just going to say, so it looks like we might be nearing the end of our farm tour part, but I know we have lots of questions to still get to. So while we're still chatting, if Farmer Caitlin wants to go ahead and turn her camera on and get her unmuted, and that way you guys can see both the screens at the same time. You can see your adopted calves, and we can answer some Q&A time here at the end. So first of all, I just want to say thank you for everyone that's been joining us today. You guys have had really incredible questions, and we'll do our best to answer some of these and get to as many as we can, but I know we're not going to be able to get to all of them. So we will do our best to answer them and kind of like a Q&A page as well. We'll send out with the recap of this. So go ahead, Farmer.
If I could interject real quick, Brittany, we were just showing the barn was getting flushed clean right there underneath the cows. I think Farmer Zach had that on film, so I just wanted to explain that. So that's carrying the sand and manure water down to the sand lanes. So go ahead.
Perfect. So let's see. So it looks like we're getting to see the girls, so that's awesome. And so we're watching them, we're watching you, and we have lots and lots of great questions coming in. So let's see if we can go ahead and get some more questions answered. Let's see. So an easy one for you. Are all dairy cows black and white, or are there other colors and things? And that can be for Farmer Walt.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, no, they're not all black and white. There's a red and white one we talked about right there. So these are all Holsteins, so that most of them are black and white, but there's a recessive gene that makes some of them red and white like her. But she's still a Holstein. But there are the most common other breeds in the United States are Jerseys, which are a much smaller cow, and they're mostly a lighter brown or tan color. And then there's Guernseys, and there's Brown Swiss, and there's milking Shorthorns. So those are the and Ayrshires, which are also Ayrshires look a lot like a Holstein but are all red and white. So those are the most common breeds in the United States.
Perfect. Let's see. What is your herd average for milk?
So a herd average by cow is a lactation per lactation, which is 10 months. They're milking for 10 months is 30,500 pounds per cow. And per day, right now, we're running right about 95 to 96 pounds per cow per day.
Great. Let's see. Looking through here. A good question. So they're asking about the adopted calves moms. Do we know if they are bred again, and if we have any idea of when they might be expecting?
I'm going to defer to Farmer Caitlin on that. She probably knows better than I do.
They've all been bred. I believe they are all pregnant. I'm not sure if they have bulls or heifers. I know Snowflake's mom is pregnant with a heifer. And I think Daisy's mom might also be pregnant with a heifer. They should be due probably by like October, November times, around the same time these guys were born.
Awesome.
I want to say, yeah.
So it sounds like May and Belinda and Daisy and Snowflake are all going to have siblings pretty soon. It actually brings up a good question that a couple of people have asked about. So if you don't mind, either Farmer Walt or Farmer Caitlin. So you mentioned heifers and bulls. Which if they have heifers, obviously they'll stay on the farm. They'll join the herd. What do you do with bulls? If you have a bull, do you raise any on the farm? Do you sell them? What's kind of the process for the bulls?
Go ahead, Farmer Caitlin.
So our bulls, we actually sell to another farm, and they go and grow up with somebody else. So we raise a couple of our beef crosses occasionally, but for the most part, our bulls will go live their life on another farm.
Cool. Which makes sense, because you guys are obviously built to raise heifers to the best of your ability. So it makes sense to raise the bulls on a different facility where they can eat the food that makes sense for their body and for their destination. So thank you for that. Let's see. Just wanted to clarify real quick. There was a question that said, how much milk does a heifer produce in a day? And just wanted to clarify that question. Heifers actually can't produce milk. They don't start producing milk until they've had a baby at 2 years old. And at that point, they're considered a cow. So just wanted to help answer that question a little bit there for you guys. Let's see. We've had a couple of folks asking about COVID, since clearly that's a pretty hot topic of today. Is COVID or COVID-19? Is that something that cows can get? And if they can they pass it? Do you see it in milk? Just kind of covering a little bit of everything about that. Is that something that you have to worry about on your farm?
Actually, we've been aware of a coronavirus, not COVID-19. So yes, cows can get a coronavirus, but it's a different strain than anything that the humans have seen, and it does not cross species. So a cow cannot give it to a human, whether being close to them in proximity or through their milk.
Cool. Thank you. Let's see. Oh, go ahead.
And we actually we vaccinate them for that at birth. So they don't get it.
Right. So this is something you guys have known about for years that you've been, managing with your cows. But as you said, it is a different strand, so it's very different than what humans are seeing. But it's something farmers have been familiar with for many, many years already. Let's see. Do you guys? So I know you mentioned that the truck picks up your milk and it is processed. Then can you remind us what those brands are if they go and buy food anywhere? What kind of brand they can buy to potentially buy your milk or your products?
Sure. Great question. So here in the Northeast, a lot of our milk goes to Wawa. So Wawa has lots of convenience stores. I think well over 500 here in the Northeast. So anything that they would be selling would potentially be ours. They also are in a partnership with Land O'Lakes, and they make Cozy Shack pudding for them. So if you've ever eaten Cozy Shack pudding, Land O'Lakes is helping make that with our milk. And Hershey Foods, any Hershey chocolate, that's a good chance it's there. And then any Land O'Lakes brand, and they have, if you look up Land O'Lakes, they have many other brands too, like Alpine Lace is one of their deli brands for cheese and that kind of thing. So good questions.
Yeah. Let's see. This can be a question for Farmer Caitlyn. Do the heifers, the adopted calves, ever get baths or groomed or anything like that? Or, do they clip their hair or anything?
No, they're pretty. They clean each other. I guess they occasionally see each other, like licking one another, scratching each other. But for the most part, we do not give them baths. We do not clip their hair. Their hair does stop growing after a certain point, and I guess we'll change coats depending on the time of year. Like the winter, they'll have thicker hair, or towards the summer, it'll be a little thinner. But we don't do anything on our end. They kind of do it themselves.
Right.
We do trim their tails a couple times a year when they're milking, just to keep it from being so bushy and dirty, or potentially dirty.
Right. No, that makes sense. Farmer Walt, this one's for you. We had some folks asking just about you and your family. So you mentioned you have 15 employees, but what about family? Do you have family that works on the farm or anything like that?
Sure. First of all, I'm in partnership with my wife, Ellen, and so she works on the farm every day. And my father who's 85 years old. He doesn't live on the farm anymore. He lives with my mother in a retirement community, but he still comes to the farm. And he jokes when he was 75, he started commuting to work for the first time in his life. So, so he does that. And I have a nephew, Luke, who's on the farm. He's full time, and he works mainly in the crop. Manages a lot of the crops and part of the business. So yeah, good question.
Yeah. Let's see. What is the oldest cow on the farm right now?
Oh boy. There's one right behind you. It's pretty old, Zach, 8902. And we write their dates on. We started writing the dates on her ear tags, but she's too old for that. So she's probably about 8 or 9 years old. So somewhere between 9 and 10 is the oldest cow, I would say. Yeah.
And that's old for a cow. Just to kind of put it in perspective, think about it. They're having their first baby at 2. So that means we had someone explain that it's about every 10 years, and there's wiggle room for that. So when they're about 2, they're about 20 in real life. So when they're 9 or 10, they're close to 100 in human years. So
you betcha. Yes.
They're reaching their peak. Now, someone did ask, what happens when a cow goes into retirement?
Oh, good. Yeah. So we say she changes occupations. So she becomes a beef cow after she quits milking, and then a younger one takes over her spot on our farm.
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of the cycle of life. And that's just how human, everything has its purpose on life. So absolutely. Let's see. What happens if you forget to clean the sand or forget to do something like that? Or does that ever happen? Is it going to cause a major catastrophe or anything like that?
So that's a good question. Yeah, and it does happen. But no, the main thing is if we get the cows, if we put dirty or wet sand in, sometimes the cows, they're laid down, their udders on that sand. And I showed you in the milking parlor how we do everything we can to clean the teats, and we put a teat dip on to help keep them, give them a quote unquote barrier from bad bugs. But they can get a bad bug now and then, and mostly it would come from the environment or from the sand if it's wet, dirty, and that can cause what we call mastitis, which is an infection in the udder. And then if they get that, then their milk's not saleable, and we help take care of them. Sometimes they need a treatment, sometimes they just need some rest time, and we will put them in the hospital pen until that mastitis is gone, and then they come back in the tank. So of course we don't want them to get that, so we do everything we can to try to prevent that.
Yeah. Wonderful. Now, and so you had talked briefly about how you guys don't give baths or clip cows or anything. So I would assume that means you guys don't show any of your cows, but that doesn't mean other farms don't. And so you might see when you go to local fairs or something, you might see some cows at those farms or at those shows. And so those cows will probably be clipped and bathed. But Farmer Walt, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you guys probably don't show. Is that correct?
That's correct. I did as a kid, 4-H and that, and definitely gave them baths and clipped them then, but we don't anymore.
Yeah,
that'd be a lot of work to give 1,000 cows a bath every day.
Yeah, that would. They just get to live their nice, relaxing life on the beach every day at your farm.
That's right. That's right.
Let's see. I'm telling you, we have a lot of great questions still coming in. Have you ever had a cow escape before?
Oh yeah, we had one on Monday. Yep, she got out. Yep, went through a gate. Yep, me and one of the employees won. She did, once she realized she didn't want to be away from her friend, she quickly came back. But yeah, it can be exciting sometimes. So yep.
Oh man, they are just too smart for their own good, I guess.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we had someone ask about how many calves can a cow have in a year, and so I guess a question to go along with that: have you ever had twins or triplets on your farm?
Sure. About 10% of the cows will have twins, and we have typically a cow has one calf a year or every 12 to 13 months on our farm. Their gestation period is a little longer than humans, so it's a long 9 months. So it's pretty much impossible for them to have more than one calf in a year, unless it's twins or triplets. Triplets are very, very rare.
Right. Absolutely.
But we've had them, but they're very rare. So, yeah.
And can be a little dangerous for the cows. So you'd prefer them to only have one cow or twins, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. So just to clarify, I know Walt and Farmer Walt and Farmer Katelin have mentioned this throughout, but we had a question that had asked, how old will Belinda be when she gets milked? How much will she weigh? Things like that. So just as a recap, she'll be the same thing as everyone else on their farm. She'll be about 2 years old when she has her first baby and starts producing milk. And at that point, she'll probably weigh, somewhere between 1,200, 1,600 pounds, somewhere in that grand scheme of things, depending on how big she gets. But yeah, so she'll join the herd just like everybody else. Let's see. I think you had mentioned this in the beginning, but it's possible they were a little late joining us, which is fine. Do you grow any crops on your farm? And do you have any other animals on your farm?
Sure. Good. Yes, we grow corn for silage and grain. We grow alfalfa for for alfalfa haylage, we call it. We grow dry grass hay. We grow triticale, which is a cross between wheat and rye. It's a cereal grain. We actually double crop that with our corn silage, so we can get 2 crops a year off of that ground. And we also grow some soybeans and wheat. So really good question. We farm about 1,800 total acres. And what was the other part of that question?
I already deleted it.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Sorry.
Remind me if anyone remembers what my second half of my question was. Feel free to enter it in and remind me. I do apologize. I'm trying to keep up.
Other animals.
Oh,
So
yes, other animals.
we do raise some pigs in the summertime. We used to have horses. My dad loved to have horses, but we've gotten out of that some just for pleasure. But as at the other farm, we've had goats, we've had chickens. A little bit depends on what the kids are into. So, and sheep. So
great. So I think it might have been said, I think you had said it, but how many minutes does a cow spend milking, and maybe, total for a day?
So they're each time they come into the milking parlor, they're in there about 12 minutes average, and the machine's on them for 5.5 to 6 minutes of that. So if they're 3 times a day, their machine's on them about 18 minutes, and they're in there 36 minutes or so total milking time.
So 30, yeah. So they pretty much spend 22 hours of their day doing nothing and eating and drinking and sleeping, and then the rest they got a pretty easy work day.
Absolutely. Yep. But we are milking 22 hours a day. So the employees, the people, we're milking cows 22 hours out of 24 here, and the other 2 hours we're cleaning up and washing and those kind of things. So and remember, we have over 1,000 calves born a year, so somebody's got to be around watching for newborn babies and that. So it's almost like running a hospital. There's somebody here all the time.
Right. And that actually brings a good point. Someone had asked, what time do you have to get up to milk? But it kind of sounds like you're milking all the time. Maybe not you, but at least someone on your team is always
That's
milking.
Right. So our morning guys start at 4 in the morning, and our night guys start at 4 in the afternoon. So they do 12-hour shifts.
Great.
They prefer that. So
wonderful. So we're going to try and wrap up here with just the last couple things. I just wanted to help clarify with the one. Someone had asked that the milk looked yellowish color. What happens that it makes it white? And that's actually from Walt. You can certainly cover this, but I'm pretty sure it's just because the color of the actual milking system, the plastic is tinted yellow, but the milk is actually white coming out of it. Is that
yes,
correct?
the milk is very white, and yes, that's a good question. But that is just the tint of that bowl, we call it, on the milking machine. And I think farmer Zach cameraman Zach showed, he's also a farmer, but he showed the milk in the tank, and it might have been, if that looked yellow, it's just because of the lighting in there, but it is white. So
right. Yep. So nothing changes it. It's always pure white from the beginning. Do you have to clean milk at all? Is that a process that has to happen, or is it already naturally clean?
It's basically naturally clean. The only thing, we do have a filter in. I kind of put my hand on that in the tour, and all that is catching any debris that might have been on the outside of the cow's teats that got pulled into the milking system. So that would just clean any other little debris. But then when it goes to the milk plant, they would pasteurize it, which goes through a heat process to help kill any other bad bacteria, if there would be any in the milk.
Very cool. We've got some questions, and you might have again said this earlier, but about how many acres do you guys farm, and how many acres are there total at your farm?
So we farm about 1,800 total acres.
1,800 acres. That is a lot of land. You must not have neighbors very close.
We cover about a 5-mile area to get that. Yep. So
wow, that's incredible.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So we just had a kind of going back to the vet. They, obviously it's good that the vet is there and taking care of those animals that need care. They were just asking, is it common that the vet checks up on somebody like every 2 weeks, or like how often does a cow get checked by a vet? Is there any sort of normalcy, or is it just when they're sick or anything like that?
So the only time they're routinely checked by a vet is when we know that they're bred and they should be pregnant, and they come in with an ultrasound machine, just very much like a human would have, and they check them to see if they're pregnant. And then we can check them at about 30 days pregnant, and then they come back and recheck them when they're 60 days pregnant. And at that point, they can tell us whether it's a boy or a girl for the most part, or a bull or a heifer. And other than that, the only other time that they really would look at our cows is if we pick a cow out that we know is not feeling right or something. Then so they're not routinely looked at other than if we ask them to. So
wonderful. I am looking through here, and I think we've pretty much gotten all of the questions, which is really exciting. Wow, yeah, you guys have been asking such great questions, so thank you so much. I'm just double checking my list here. I know what, how old is a cow when they stop milking? We had talked, it's essentially just however old. It's not like you stop them at a certain age. It's just whenever the cycle of life takes them. That's, it's not like you tell them to stop milking at a certain age, correct, Farmer Walt?
That's correct. And some cows milk longer than other cows, just based on how they are. So,
yep. Oh, so a good question. What happens if a cow mama, you had mentioned that I think 90 or 95% of births happen naturally. What do you do to help a cow if she is having problems giving birth?
So I mentioned that we work with New Bolton Center, who's our veterinary clinic down the road, and they're training students. So their veterinarians also train our staff to know how to help correctly help the cows if they're having trouble giving birth. So our employees that work directly with the cows are trained in that. And so then we would help grab hold of their feet and help assist them pull that calf out of the mother if we need to, and help get them going.
Great.
If it's something really tough, we call the vets and they help us with them. But absolutely. That's very rare.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And so while as I briefly look through my list here one more time, Farmer Caitlin and Farmer and our camera lady Jane, if you guys don't mind making sure you highlight each one of our babies one more time here. And Farmer Caitlin, if you just want to let us know which one is which, and that way we can get to see them one more time.
Okay, so this one in the front here, 2034, this is Belinda. Yeah, and then we have Snowflake behind her. And then I think May is this one right here. Yep, there she goes. Yep, and there's Daisy hiding in the back there, 2036.
Thank you so much. They are really getting big, and it looks like they're really good friends. They're all hanging out together and like spending time together. We had a couple, just some folks asking if they could see their calf one more time and see May one more time. So thank you for letting us see them. Farmer Walt, and it looks like we can see a skid loader on your end, which is pretty cool. It looks like he was pushing up the feed. So hopefully you guys were seeing that and getting to watch the feed get pushed up. So they do that throughout the day to make sure that the cows can reach their food and eat all of it. Is that correct, Farmer Walt?
That is correct. Yeah, he is pushing up the feed, and I think Zach's getting that on camera. And so, yeah, multiple times a day we go through and push it up because they keep pushing it away, and then we push it back so they can reach it. Absolutely.
Wonderful. So I think what we'll do here is we'll pretty much wrap it up. Would either one of you have any last minute things you'd like to say? We'll start with you, Farmer Caitlin. Is there anything else you'd like to say to everyone that's adopted and joined us today?
I just want to tell you guys I was really glad to work with you. It was really nice to work with all of you and share these calves with all of you. And I really hope you guys enjoyed working with them and seeing them and getting the updates.
Awesome. Thank you, Farmer Caitlin. And Farmer Walt?
Absolutely. I would echo what Farmer Caitlin said. We were thrilled to be part of this program and thrilled to be able to touch so many classrooms and students and teachers and alike. And it's really neat to be part of. And we've gotten so many awesome emails, and we got pictures drawn and cards and notes and from you all out there, and that's just awesome. So thank you so much, and we've been glad to be in partnership with the Center for Dairy Excellence working on this, and it's just been a lot of fun. So thank you.
Wonderful. And thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you to both of you. It has been a lot of fun sharing your farm with everybody. We've got lots of folks saying thank you so much for sharing Belinda with us. Thank you so much. This was a great program. This is wonderful touring. Just a lot of people very excited and just truly welcoming and warming to what you guys offered for them. And I know I enjoyed getting to tour your farm virtually here, kind of taking it through the screen and getting to see our wonderful girls again and really learning how incredible your farm is for our not only our community and our economy, but just the economy and how you recycle and reuse and really do everything you do to reduce the carbon footprint. I know yesterday was Earth Day, and Walmoore Holsteins is just a great example of a farm who really does everything they can to be friendly to our earth. So thank you so much, Farmer Walt, for leading that on your farm and just being an excellent example. And so many thank yous are coming in. Thank you, everyone. They've just really been enjoying this. Thank you for sharing Snowflake and a fourth grader from St. Paul, Millington, Michigan. So thank you so much. We're going to get ready to sign off. Feel free to watch the recording anytime so you can see your adopted calves again or need any reminders. But with that, we will be taking off. Thanks so much, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.